this is really a difficult challenge. There's a lot of sightings, both corroborated and uncorroborated, and the people are very concerned about what's going on in the airspace, and so I think that there's a lot of things that local, state, and federal officials really have to sort through to get to the bottom of it. And frankly, I think that there's a lot of misidentification of objects in the airspace, but there's also probably some legitimate drone sightings. But I think it's important to understand that even the presence of a drone in the airspace doesn't necessarily mean that it's a threat. And so I think it's an opportunity for now where we can take a quick pause and maybe recalibrate what is and is not a drone threat, and continue to try to deconflict some of the other objects in the sky that are often misidentified as drones, so we can reduce the amount of reports that are bogging down state, local, and federal officials to really get to the bottom of what's going on.
Right, and National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said that these drones do not pose a national security threat from a foreign nexus. How did the government rule that out?
Well, I'm not sure how the government would have ruled that out. I certainly don't want to speculate, but one thing in looking at all the news reports that I've seen is that I have not heard of any news reports of critical infrastructure being damaged or people being hurt or anything serious happening as a result of these suspected sightings of drones. And what the government is doing, I just wouldn't really have any insight. But as of right now, I haven't seen any credible evidence of any particular threat. But I'm certainly keeping an open mind. I don't have all the details myself.
Right. So there are many theories about what's going on here, from that this is a classified government program to it's a distraction, and that these drones are part of a foreign operation that's not a direct threat. What do you think could be the purpose here?
Well, I think we're seeing a few different things. I think we have maybe three main categories of things we're seeing in the airspace. And I think a lot of people, to be quite frank, are looking up in the airspace for the first time and just realizing that there's a lot of activity in the low-level airspace as well as higher up in the airspace. If you look at what's going on in New Jersey, there's a lot of major airports in the region, from Dulles to Baltimore, Philly, Newark, LaGuardia, JFK, Boston, and that area is the transit route to and from Europe and beyond. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in that airspace. And I can tell you from some of my experiences in the FBI, I covered a lot of operations at high-profile events and venues, as well as conducted a lot of investigations into the suspected sighting of drones in critical infrastructure. And it was very, very common for things like planets, manned aircraft, and low Earth orbit satellites to be misidentified as drones at night. And that occurred because at night you have a really poor sense of depth perception. And a lot of the lights that are common with drones, white, red, and green lights, are also common with crewed aircraft, manned aircraft, and other things you find in the airspace. And so I think we're seeing a mix of probably some legitimate sightings of drones. I've seen reports that police are using drones to find drones, and then you have hobbyists using their drones to find other drones. You have aircraft up in the air looking for drones, and then you have all the other manned aircraft traffic in the area. So there may be some legitimate reports of drones, but just the fact that they're being reported doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually a threat. So just seeing a drone threat does not actually mean it's a threat. I think you have to look below, kind of dig a little bit deeper to really understand what's going on. Is the drone harming anybody? Is it damaging critical infrastructure? Is it flying over a sensitive facility in the context of a prison? Is it dropping a package in the prison? Those are some things that may be drone threat indicators, and not just the drone threat itself. Secretary Mayorkas even has said in I believe it was yesterday, that the FAA changed the rules where you can fly at night. So the fact there is drones in the sky during the daytime or nighttime is not a threat indicator. We kind of have to move beyond that. Let's really look deeper at what the drones are doing. If they're not doing anything wrong, then let's not report it. Let's not bog down our officials with unnecessary information, and let's continue to deconflict with those things in the sky that have similar characteristics with things like planets and manned aircraft and other things that may look like a drone.
Sure. New York and New Jersey governors are asking for more federal resources on this. As far as how should local officials and state officials balance public concern with the evidence that many of these drone sightings may not pose a real threat? How do you think they should go about this?
Well, I think that it's, everything that's going on is worthy of continued investigation. And as I mentioned, I'm keeping an open mind. I don't know exactly everything that's going on. And, I'm, even though I have some, experience that would lead me to lean towards some of the misidentifications, I'm open to the fact that there may be, something nefarious going on, but haven't had any evidence to suggest otherwise. But one of the challenges here is that state and local law enforcement, as well as owners and operators of critical infrastructure, are really hamstrung with what they can do. And one of those reasons is because the use of some drone detection technologies may not be legal under federal law. And in all cases for state and local law enforcement, they're not authorized to use any drone defeat technologies that would disrupt, disable, or destroy a drone. And that those capabilities are only held by 4 federal agencies: the Departments of Defense, Energy, Homeland Security, and Justice. So we really need to work on expanding the authorities of the tools and techniques that law enforcement and critical infrastructure can use to detect, assess, and when necessary, respond to threats in the airspace.
And Tom, the FBI budget for counter-drone technologies is about $500,000. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is now pushing for advanced detection technology to help local law enforcement track the unidentified drones. How effective would new drone detection technology, be in resolving this mystery? And could that portion of the budget increase after this, you think?
I would hope that it does. I'm glad that Senator Schumer is calling for more capabilities to be out there. As the Senate Majority Leader, he is probably very aware that Senate Bill 1631, which is the Safeguarding the Homeland from the Threats Posed by Unmanned Aircraft Systems Act, kind of a tongue twister. It was authored by Senator Gary Peters. It was first introduced to the Senate in May 2023, and that particular bill is considered by many to be a very progressive bill with much needed expansion of authorities. That would establish a counter UAS school. It would, build an authorized equipment list that would have a list of equipment that law enforcement and critical infrastructure could potentially purchase. But that bill hasn't gotten anywhere. So I would certainly encourage Senator Schumer to speak with Senator Peters and see what they can do to kind of start moving some of that legislation forward that's already been created. There's some common sense legislation already out there. It just needs to be pushed forward.
Hey, Tom Adams, Director of Public Safety for Drone Shield and retired FBI Special Agent, thank you very much for your insight here today.
Thank you.
Trump today holding his first news conference since